There are 8 types of waste that quietly drain money, time, and energy from your business every single day. Most business owners can spot a few of them: defects, delays, and rework. These are very visible and you feel them. But there is one type of waste that is almost completely invisible. And in my experience of nearly 34 years working inside some of the world's largest organizations, it is the most damaging of all. It is called non-utilized talent, and today I'm going to show you exactly what it is, where it hides in your business, and what you can do about it without needing consultants, reorganizations, or some 6-month program. So what exactly is non-utilized talent? So the simple definition is the failure to use people's actual skills, ideas, or potential within your daily operations. So if you look at the 4 examples on the screen, you've got people doing tasks far below their current and actual capability. We've got rigid roles that block frontline creativity. We have decisions made far from the actual work, and we have skills that are kept hidden because no one ever asked what people were capable of. So particularly the last one, if you think about that, the skills that stay hidden because no one ever asked, that's not a training problem, that's a listening problem, and is more common than we think. There'll be many people within your organizations or your teams that have hidden talents or hobbies that they could be bringing into the work environment, but they're never encouraged to do that. The diagram on the left shows what this looks like structurally. You have an enormous human capability and a whole circle of it being squeezed through a tiny gap created by restrictive role designs. What comes out of the other side is a fraction of what went in, and you got massive loss of talent potential there. So here's how this plays out operationally, and this is where the business cost becomes very real. When talent is not being used properly, 3 things will happen simultaneously. First, you get the only person trap. There's only one person who is allowed to handle a particular type of problem or decision. So the work piles up behind them and everybody else needs to wait. Second, you get an escalation queue. So your team hits a situation that they could easily resolve themselves, but the system forces them to stop and wait for some kind of manager sign off. That manager's already dealing with loads of other things and 10 other escalations. So again, the queue will grow because of that particular circumstance. Third, you get the blind spot. The people who actually do the work every day can see exactly what the issues are, and especially where the bottlenecks are. They know exactly what's slowing things down, but because nobody asked them, because there's no channel for their ideas, their intelligence and experience never surfaces. So the problem stays and the issues just carry on again and again and again. So the bottom line here is that if you fail to empower your teams, you're going to have slow decisions, poor problem solving, and rapid burnout. So what you tend to find is a throughput issue. Things are coming into the business in a rapid way. The same people are having to deliver things and deal with the same kind of issues. And it's usually because we haven't deployed or nurtured the skills properly. So let me show you what this looks like in practice. And we're going to cover both physical and virtual environments, because this problem will exist in both areas. So if you run a physical business, I've got 3 scenarios that you might recognize. So the first example being retail, you're going to have some wasted skill, potentially where you have experienced staff members are doing basic shelf stacking. The bottleneck here is only one manager can handle complex customer issues. And of course, the impact is long queues and slow service. Trades and workshops, you're going to have highly skilled technicians doing very manual admin paperwork. And of course, the bottleneck's then going to be fewer technical jobs completed in a day because they're doing their paperwork. And the impact's going to be jobs delayed and technicians' times wasted. Now, a third example is around cafe and hospitality areas. Now, you could have a situation where you got wasted skill with a barista with a high EQ that is kept in the back prepping food. The bottleneck is the front of house queue grows unchecked, and then you'll find an impact that habitual scheduling kills the customer experience. So very similar themes, all about people being probably in the wrong place as far as where they're working, or doing wrong tasks depending on their level of skill. Now here's the similar thing for digital environments. So the first one is around an online service agency. The senior designer is doing very repetitive admin tasks. Of course, the bottleneck is then caused that the design work they should be doing has to wait for that admin task to be completed. Then the whole impact is the slow project turnaround because people are doing the wrong things. SaaS or a tech team, you could have core developers fixing basic level 1 support tickets. And I've seen this plenty of times where the development teams have to step in and it becomes quite an expensive help desk to run because they're not doing their core job. And of course, you're going to have slow delivery then of actual new development features because they're doing other tasks. And the last example here is around admin and back office. You can have staff with process knowledge excluded from improvement plans. The bottleneck is that the same problem will repeat itself because you're not getting to the root cause of the real issues that are going on. And then the impact is top-down decisions will be leading the continuous rework rather than having people who actually do the job every day. So what I want you to look at here is when I talked about the various industries, whether it's a physical industry or whether it's a digital type and virtual industry, the mechanisms are always very, very similar. So the diagram I showed you here puts it very plainly. Your employee capabilities on one side and you've got your current task assignments on the other. So what you see here in this diagram is when the two sides don't overlap properly, the tasks you're giving people don't match what they're actually capable of, and you start creating more and more of a gap. And of course that gap is lost potential and a lot of hidden cost. So I like the analogy when I think about cars. You're buying a premium engine in a car, for instance, but you're only ever running it in first gear, but you're still getting the full fuel bill for running that engine. So you're not really optimizing the capability that you currently have. So again, when we look back at those examples and we start thinking about what's the root cause of this, you have three main areas. One could be a process issue, one could be some kind of people issue, and then you could have tools and system issues. So if I think about the process first, you could have things like poor role designs. People's roles aren't designed to function in the way that they should do. There's some rigid hierarchy in the organization. You get overly complex approval chains. It's very, very common. You have to go through multiple layers of approvals to get anything done. These always take time. Now, if I think about this from a tools and system issue, when you're implementing anything or discussing any kind of continuous improvement, you're not always involving the right people, the people who actually do the work every day. You're not creating some kind of feedback loop that allows them to come back to you to suggest more and more improvements. And we could have a cultural issue where people are just doing stuff they've always done because they've not really been involved in any kind of CI type work going forward. So all these things could be issues that we currently have. Then on the people side, we're talking more about the skills of the people and misaligning them with the tasks. And usually that's down to some kind of lack of training or development, or basically just knowledge about what people are capable of. So let's walk through exactly how this failure plays out on a typical working day. So step one, talented front staff will identify a problem which they can see every day, they probably understand it, and they probably know how to fix it. We move on to step two. Rigid hierarchy means they have to stop working and escalate the issue to a manager rather than resolving it themselves. Then once we do that, step three, their manager becomes the constraint. They're now receiving escalations from multiple people simultaneously, all of which they're now responsible for resolving, and they get choked by all of these micro decisions they're having to make all of the time. And then we get to step four, you start seeing the throughput will halt, work starts stacking up, and things start stalling. And it's usually down to the fact that at the very beginning, we didn't empower people to make those changes and start having those time and necessary skills to implement the improvements. This is usually not a management problem or a management failure. It's just a system failure around the way that we've set up the whole culture within a business. So here's some of the things we can do in a small or medium-sized business to start looking at how we fix these types of issues. So if you think about task alignments, we make sure the tasks are all aligned to various people's skills and that every role has a clear expectation. And this hopefully starts aligning people's capabilities with what they do every day. And then we look at capacity. This is something I see a lot, that people are very, very rigid in the type of work they do. We need to implement a lot of cross-training and standardize the work in each area to allow for that cross-training to actually take place. Thinking about empowerment, if we can remove those unnecessary approval layers and then empower staff to actually solve the problems at the source, this is going to help us fix things a lot quicker. And then visibility, we can start thinking about how can we have daily huddles, idea capture processes, visual management of responsibilities. All of this can be brought out in the open whether it's in a digital or physical environment, and this will help us understand what the current issues are and how they're being fixed. So what this does is it shifts the whole operational thinking. So rather than have a top-down dependency where everything's always being escalated, the staff become more and more disengaged because they're not involved in their daily work, they're just doing what they're told. And then one or two people actually carry all of the different load of trying to find issues and fix them. We have a more empowered front line. So if you look on the right-hand side, everybody is empowered with the right skill set, with the right training to start fixing issues at source. And it will remove bottlenecks a lot quicker just by unlocking that capability that your staff will have. So this unlocked talent is the key to fixing many of the waste type issues that we have in a business, because they're the ones that can actually understand where things like defects come from, why inventory is piling up, whatever it may be. If you can unlock people's talent and give them the ability and empower them to go and find these fixes, you're going to resolve way more than just this one particular waste. So you think about this as a flywheel where you're trying to find things that are an issue, you're trying to fix them, you're trying to lock that fix in place, and then you're getting the whole business to level up on a regular basis. This will help empower all of that. So how do we actually start implementing these ideas? So it's a 5-step method. So we're looking to map people's roles, identify the gaps, spot the traps, ask the line and reassign. And basically what we're trying to do is document people's roles day to day, look at their types of skills and plug in any gaps, figure out where these various types of approval layers will be and remove them. Obviously consulting the people that are doing the job every day to understand what the improvement ideas could be. And then looking to redistribute the tasks based on people's strengths, not just the habits that people have got into. And we can start off with a very, very simple diagnostic checklist. So we can ask ourselves a number of questions. Are your most skilled people spending time on low value tasks? Are basic daily decisions being escalated too high up? Are frontline improvement ideas actively collected and reviewed? And are roles and boundaries and responsibilities explicitly clear? And is there a critical task where only one person can do it? And that one has been highlighted because it's very, very common that people become single points of failure within a business because their knowledge is so good, it's not documented and it's not shared. And that's real critical when you're going through this checklist to understand that piece. So here's some action you can take straight away, because we don't want to reorg the entire company because that just becomes too big. So what we can do is you can target one role, focus on the biggest blocker first, identify one wasted skill and understand where that capability is currently so that we can think about moving that. And we can reassign one of the tasks that you have and give people more authority to actually act. We can measure the impact and then we can repeat on a regular basis, start reorganizing our areas very slowly. So this is a slightly longer video because this is a really critical area to start thinking about whenever we're talking about continuous improvement. Non-utilized talent is the most tragic waste in a business and the most powerful to fix because it unlocks your team's potential to remove all of the bottlenecks within your business if people are doing the right thing at the right time with the right level of skill. If this video is useful to you, don't forget to hit that subscribe and notification bell and I'll let you know whenever I produce new videos. And guys, if you're trying to measure your waste, hit the link in the description below. Go over to my website. There's a free tool there that will allow you to measure waste and understand its true impact on your business today. Until next time, guys, take care.